Hey guys, we're up to lesson 10 and we are adding fractions with sums greater than 2. This is going to be great. Okay, our first word problem says to make punch for the class party, Mrs. Lopez mixed 1 1/3 cups of orange juice, 3/4 of a cup of apple juice, 2/3 cup of cranberry juice, and 3/4 cup of lemon lime soda. Mixed together, how many cups of punch does the recipe make? Okay, so we have our tape diagram here. We have our orange juice, our apple juice, cranberry juice, and soda. The C stands for cup. I think you figured that out, but anyhow. Okay, so what they want us to do is take fractions with like units and add them together and then proceed from there to get a common unit if we need to. So we're going to take the orange juice and the cranberry juice because they're both in units of thirds, and we're putting them together here. So we have 1 1/3 plus 2/3, and then the apple and the soda, and we're adding that together over here, 3/4 plus 3/4. So if we add this up, 1/3 plus 2/3 equals 3/3, which is a whole. So then I have 1 plus another whole, so I get 2. And then I add what's in the parentheses over here, which is 3/4 and 3/4. So if I wrote that out, 3/4 plus 3/4 will give me 6/4, which is an improper fraction, so I can't have that. 6 divided by 4 is 1 with 2/4 left over, so that's where I got this from. Then I add them together. 2 plus 1 and 2/4. So I add the whole numbers first. 2 plus 1 is 3. Bring the 2/4 down, and then I make the 2/4 1/2 by reducing it to its simplest terms by dividing the denumerator. That's nice. That's a new word, denumerator. By dividing the numerator and denominator both by 2. So my answer is 3 1/2. The recipe makes 3 1/2 cups of punch. Yay! Let's go to Mrs. Lopez's party. But she won't have enough for all of us. But that's okay. We'll each have a sip. Next. Here is our problem. 2 1/15 plus 1 1/2. So we're going to use the number line to show jumps. Okay? So we have the whole number 2, and we're going to break this apart. So 2 1/5 becomes 2 plus 1/5. And then 1 plus 1/2 becomes 1 plus 1/2. So what we do now is add the whole numbers 2 and 1, and we get 3. Okay, everybody sees that? And then we have 1/5 and 1/2 left. So then we're going to change those to a common denominator, and we'll get the common denominator of 10. So how do we get from 5 to 10? We multiply it by 2, so we multiply the numerator by 2, and we get 2. From 2 to 10, we multiply by 5, do the same thing to the numerator, and I get 5. So I still have my whole number, that hasn't changed. 2 new fractions with equivalent units. Keep my whole number, didn't change. Add these 2 fractions to 7/10, and my answer is 3 7/10. So if you look on the number line, I have my first number 2 1/5, and then I have, so okay, sorry. So I have 2 1/5, so I jump 2, okay, and I get here. So my 1/5 is left over. Then I make another whole number jump, and I get to 3, okay, so that's done. Now I have to go 1/5, which is this little guy, and then another half, which is here. Okay, so this gives me 3 7/10. Okay, so you see that on the number line? So we're taking, I think I said 2/15 before. That was a mistake, sorry. So it's 2 1/5. Okay, we decompose it. All right, let's try another one. So now we have 2 1/4 plus 1 1/2. So we're going to add the whole numbers first. Okay, that's where I have this. Now my 4/5 is here and my 1/2 is here. Does everybody see that? I just added the whole numbers. I didn't do anything else. I'm going to make these into equivalent units. I'm going to use the 10. Okay, so 5 times 2 is 10, 4 times 2 is 8, 2 times 5 is 10, 1 times 5 is 5. Now I can add them together. Keep my whole number. Nothing changes there. 8 plus 5 is 13/10. Okay, improper fraction. No can do. Need to change this into a mixed number. So I take out my whole, which is 10/10, and what's left over is 3/10. Now this is equivalent to 1, and I add it to this whole number 3, and I get 4, and then I have my 3/10 left over, which is here. So now when I go on my number line, I have 2 wholes right here, plus another whole, which is this one, plus 4/5, which is here, will give me my 3 4/5, right, where that is, plus another half right there. Okay, so on the number line, I just did exactly what my second step was. And then I just continued to make my equivalent units and figure out my problem. Okay, and I end up right here with 4 3/10. And it's approximate. Like nobody's gonna like go measuring this on you and seeing if you have everything perfectly lined up. They just want to make sure that you understand that this is a little bit like it's like about halfway in between. So you see, like I didn't make it completely like when I added the half, but I needed 3/10 in the end. So like that's close enough. That's pretty good. So again, like everything, nobody's gonna like measure things on you and figure that out. Okay, so don't worry too much about that. Just make it look reasonable. Then here we go. So when we're talking about adding mixed numbers, we have to think what's reasonable, what makes sense. So the sum of these two numbers here will be between what two whole numbers? Well, if you look at it logically, I mean, don't look at the stuff over here, but if we look at this logically, we would say, well, we know we have the whole number 2 and we have the whole number 5. So 2 plus 5 is 7. This is a little bit more than 2 and this is a little bit more than 5. So I know I have more than 2 and I know I have more than 5. So the least is going to be a 7. And none of these is a whole, right? 5/5 would be the whole, or 3/3 would be the whole. So I'm thinking I'm going to be someplace between 7 and 8. Let's see if I'm right. I don't know. I might not be right. So we take the 2 2/3 plus the 5 2/3, and we do the same thing we've been doing. Add the whole numbers, bring down the fractions. Keep the whole number, change these into like units, add the fractions together, take out a whole if there is one, bring the whole down, keep the fraction the same, add the whole numbers again, so you get 8 and 1/15. So I was wrong. It's not between 7 and 8. It's between 8 and 9. And that's because 2/3 is very close to 1. 2/5 is not so close to 1, but when we add them together, they equal a little bit more than 1. Okay, so that's the reason why this would be the correct answer. Because if we look at it, here's our actual answer. So it would lie between 8 and 9. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Okay, so the sum of these numbers will be between what two whole numbers? So they're asking us 3 5/7 and 6 2/3. Okay. So 3 and 6, that's 9. automatically. And then I look at this. Well, that's pretty close to 1. And that's kind of close to 1. So I'm going to bump this up to 10. And I'm going to say the answer is someplace between 10 and 11. And pretend you can't see all this, okay? Just pretend you can't see it. Okay. So here we go. Ready? So we're going to do the actual work. So I'm taking these numbers, bringing them over here. Now I'm doing the work, okay? Adding the whole numbers, I get 9. Bring the fractions down. Get a common unit, 7 and 3. My common unit is going to be 21. You guys totally know how to do this. We've been working on this for a long time, for many lessons in this module. So I'm not going to take the time to explain that. You know how to do it. So I keep my whole number going, right? I add these two fractions together. I have 29 21sts. That's more than 1. So I take out my whole. And now I add it together here. And I get 10. And my leftover fraction is 8 21sts. 8 21sts. And my answer is 10 and 8 21st. So I was right. My answer is going to be between 10 and 11. If I had guessed at the beginning, would it be 9 and 10? I would have been close, but knowing that these two fractions are so close to 1 themselves, it made me realize that I would have to bump it up. Okay? So you are going to do problem set numbers 1, A, D, E, and H, because I always like giving you guys those numbers. And then the word problems number 2 and 3. And when you're done, these are your answers. Okay? So next time I see you, we will be up to lesson 11. How exciting is that? And we're going to be doing pretty much the same thing, except I think it's subtraction. All right, see you later.